Former Irish Rugby Football Union referee-chief Owen Doyle has launched a scathing critique of what he believes is a sustained effort to weaken one of rugby union's defining features, the scrum. In a strongly worded column, Doyle accused the game's lawmakers of placing the set piece on death row, arguing that recent amendments introduced by World Rugby and adopted in competitions, such as Super Rugby, threaten to erode the sport's identity in the pursuit of faster entertainment. The heart of Doyle's argument is the belief that, while the scrum has undeniably faced issues in recent years, the current response from administrators goes too far. Rather than reforming and refining the set piece, he suggests the authorities are stripping it of its relevance piece by piece, that a pillar of rugby union under pressure for more than a century. The scrum has stood as one of rugby union's foundational pillars. It is not merely a method of restarting play. It is a physical and tactical battleground that shapes the contest. 8 forwards bind together, generating force and technique in a contest that can dominate territory, possession, and psychological momentum. Doyle readily acknowledges that the modern scrum has become problematic in certain respects. Too often, he argues, it has been reduced to a penalty-generating machine. Repeated resets, technical infringements, and long delays have frustrated spectators and players alike. The introduction of strict engagement protocols, detailed binding requirements, and complex interpretations has led to extended stoppages that interrupt the flow of matches. However, Doyle contends that the answer is not to marginalize the scrum altogether. Instead, he believes governing bodies should focus on improving officiating consistency and technical clarity rather than replacing scrum sanctions with free kicks. World Rugby's recent amendments, one of the key flashpoints in the debate, has been the decision to prevent teams from opting for a scrum following a free kick. Traditionally, sides awarded a free kick could choose to pack down and seek dominance up front. Under the new approach, that option has been removed in certain competitions, thereby reducing the number of scrums in a match. Further changes trialed in Super Rugby for the 2026 season go even further. An accidental offside, previously resulting in a scrum, will now lead to a free kick. Similarly, delaying the playing of the ball at a ruck will attract the same sanction rather than a set-piece restart. Although these measures have not yet been implemented universally, Doyle fears it is only a matter of time before they are rolled out globally. Given World Rugby's stated aim of increasing ball-in-play time and enhancing entertainment value, he believes the direction of travel is unmistakable, handing uncontested possession for Doyle. The most troubling aspect of these reforms is the perceived imbalance they create. A scrum provides a genuine contest for possession. Both teams have the opportunity to win the ball, disrupt the opposition, or exert pressure. By contrast, a free kick, particularly when taken quickly, effectively hands uncontested possession to the attacking side. That he describes the notion of awarding a free kick for an accidental offside as total nonsense, arguing that it strips away the competitive element that defines rugby union. In his view, the scrum's very purpose is to create space and opportunity by compressing forwards into a confined area. With 9 players tied up in a relatively small space, backlines are afforded the room to attack creatively. Remove that contest, Doyle argues, and you remove a critical strategic dimension of the sport, that a north-south divide. While discussions around law changes often descend into northern versus southern hemisphere debates, Doyle insists that this issue transcends geography. Supporters in both hemispheres appreciate the scrum's value, he maintains. The set piece is not merely a cultural preference of certain nations. It is embedded in the game's DNA. He questions whether even traditional Southern Hemisphere powerhouses would welcome a dilution of the scrum's influence. The physical dominance associated with nations like South Africa, for example, has long been rooted in forward power and set-piece supremacy. To reduce the scrum's significance would be to diminish a core competitive strength. In Doyle's eyes, pursuing free kicks as a solution in the hope of attracting new fans amounts to chasing fool's gold. While faster restarts may produce frenetic passages of play, they risk sacrificing depth and structure. Rugby league comparisons. Perhaps Doyle's sharpest criticism is the suggestion that union is drifting towards rugby league. He draws parallels between the quick free kick and league's play-the-ball restart, where defenders must retreat 10 meters and the attacking team can resume immediately. The free kick, he argues, is as near to rugby league's play the ball as you can get. Once taken quickly, opponents who are not already back the required distance cannot interfere, allowing for rapid, unstructured phases. Doyle does not dismiss rugby league's merits as a sport in its own right. Rather, his concern lies in union losing what makes it distinctive. The scrum, lineout, and maul differentiate rugby union from its 13, a side cousin. Remove or weaken those elements, and the codes begin to blur. Recently, Brett Robinson, the Australian chair of World Rugby, insisted that union is not evolving towards league. Doyle remains unconvinced. In his assessment, many recent law trials appear lifted directly from league's playbook, prioritizing speed and spectacle over structured contest. The quest for more ball in play, there is broad agreement within rugby's leadership that increasing ball in play time is a worthwhile objective. Lengthy stoppages, repeated resets, and complex TMO interventions have tested viewer patience. Broadcasters and administrators alike are keen to maintain engagement in an increasingly competitive sports marketplace. Yet Doyle argues that achieving this goal must not come at the expense of core characteristics. Scrapping or sidelining the scrum, he says, is a very blunt instrument in pursuit of a meritorious aim that a well-executed scrum does not inherently slow the game down. On the contrary, it can provide clean, rapid ball and set attacking platforms that lead to flowing backline moves. The problem, Doyle suggests, lies not in the concept of the scrum, but in its current application and management. Reform versus removal. If the scrum has become overburdened with technicalities and manipulation, Doyle believes the solution lies in reform. Simplifying engagement sequences, ensuring straighter feeds, and applying consistent interpretations could restore credibility and efficiency. He references the long-standing issue of the crooked put-in, often described as risible, as an example of an area crying out for enforcement rather than abandonment. If referees demanded genuinely straight feeds, the contest might be more balanced and less prone to collapse or reset. By contrast, replacing scrums with free kicks risks creating a different set of problems. Quick taps may produce exciting, helter-skelter sequences, but they can also lead to chaotic, structureless play. Without the compressive effect of the scrum tying in forwards, defensive lines may spread more easily, reducing the very space administrators hope to create. The danger of losing identity. Ultimately, Doyle frames the debate as one of identity. Rugby union's uniqueness lies in its diversity of contests. The collision at the breakdown, the aerial battle at the lineout, the driving maul, and the brute force of the scrum. Each element contributes to a layered, strategic contest that balances power and skill. His language is deliberately stark. To throw the scrum to the wolves, he argues, would represent a grave and irretrievable error. Once the culture, coaching structures, and player development pathways adjust to a reduced emphasis on scrummaging, restoring it would be extraordinarily difficult. A call to unions, Doyle concludes by urging national unions and competition organizers who harbor doubts about the proposals to stand firm. Law changes at elite level inevitably cascade down through domestic leagues, academies, and grassroots rugby. The ripple effects are profound that if administrators prioritize speed and superficial spectacle over foundational contests, the next generation of players may be shaped accordingly. Props and hookers, traditionally specialists honed in the dark arts of the front row, could find their craft marginalized. The former test referee does not deny that rugby must evolve. Sports that stand still risk stagnation. But evolution, he insists, should be thoughtful and measured, not driven by a perception that tradition is an obstacle to progress.